We all know that when you buy a home, you need a down payment. But what are the other costs you have to pay when you purchase a new home? In this video, we are going to go over all of the fees associated with purchasing a home in Canada, and more specifically, a home in the city of Toronto. My name is Macallum, and I am a real estate agent in the city of Toronto, and I lead a real estate team which services the Greater Toronto area. If you get any value from this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe, as it helps the YouTube algorithm push this type of content to other people like yourself looking to learn more about the Canadian and Toronto real estate markets. And if you'd like to book a call with me individually, you can go to the first link in the description of this video and book a meeting directly into my calendar at a time that works best for you. Closing costs are essentially the extra payments that you as a buyer are responsible for paying in addition to your down payment. We're going to run through a basic example here. When you purchase a $700,000 property in Toronto as a first-time buyer, you are eligible to pay a minimum down payment of 6.5%. However, if you are a second-time buyer or an investor, you must put down 20%. So let's stick with this equation from the perspective of a first-time buyer. With a $700,000 purchase and 6.5% down as the minimum, that means the down payment amount is $45,500. And the down payment is the most common payment that buyers generally think of when they're saving and looking to purchase a property. Because in this scenario, the buyer of the $700,000 property is using less than 20% down, they would need to pay mortgage insurance. And the mortgage insurance amount for this particular situation is $26,180. However, this amount is not paid up front, although it can be, but most buyers elect not to pay this amount up front because otherwise they would have just put it towards their down payment and increased their percentage. So it's factored into the overall mortgage payment. So moving down the road here with a down payment of $45,500, the total mortgage amount that this individual buyer is taking would be a little over $680,000. And if you think this equation doesn't really make sense, you'd be right. If you're putting $45,500 down towards a $700,000 property, how is your total mortgage amount $680,000? It's because of the mortgage insurance premium of $26,180. As we move down towards the specifics of the mortgage, with relation to amortization and mortgage rate, we're using a 25-year amortization because that's the maximum when putting under 20% down. And then we get to the mortgage rate. And in this scenario, in today's market, we're going to be using a mortgage rate of 5.5%. This means that the total monthly mortgage payment on this property is $4,155. And here is where we're going to get into what are called closing costs. Whenever you purchase a home in Toronto, you are paying a land transfer tax or multiple land transfer taxes, which is one component of closing costs. In this scenario, we are working with a first-time buyer. So as a first-time buyer, they would be required to pay a provincial land transfer tax of just under $10,500. And a municipal land transfer tax of an additional just under $10,500. However, because this person is a first-time buyer, they are eligible for a rebate of $8,475, which brings their total land transfer tax amount to $12,475. And yes, unfortunately, this amount is in addition to the down payment, which is why it's considered a closing cost. Now let's move down to understand what the remaining closing costs are for this individual property. So you have your down payment of $45,500, which we've already gone over. Next, you have your land transfer tax, which we've also already gone over, and that's $12,475. This is a closing cost, and it's a one-time payment to the government at the time you close on your property, so just before you get the keys. As we discussed earlier in this video, because the buyer in this situation is putting less than 20% down, there is PST on mortgage insurance, which equates to a payment of just under $2,100. Next up, we have lawyer fees, which in Toronto are typically around $1,500. Following that, we have title insurance, which is paid through the lawyer and is typically around $600 on a property of this value. And then we have the home inspection, which would typically be around a $500 payment if the buyer is obtaining an inspection. Now, some buyers obtain an inspection while others don't, and some sellers will actually get a home inspection done before listing the home on the MLS. And an appraisal fee is typically around $300. However, sometimes appraisal fees can be waived. And the final item on our list for closing costs is the estoppel fee, or the status certificate fee. Status certificates are only for condos. They are not for freehold homes like a detached property. And in this scenario, because we're looking at a $700,000 purchase in the city of Toronto, this example should be for a condo. And the reason I have input $0 under the estoppel fee is because typically the seller will pay to obtain this item, but generally it's around $150. That means that the total closing costs for this home with this buyer's financing is $17,469 plus their down payment. So that brings the grand total of cash needed to close on this individual property to $62,969. But the payments don't stop here. There are other friction costs associated with moving, and these costs are movers, packers, short-term rentals, painting and furnishing your new home, and a whole lot more. So when you're using an online calculator to determine your purchasing affordability or you're looking at the monthly carrying costs, remember that there are closing costs in addition to your down payment.